The power of story is immense. Hearing and sharing stories can influence opinions, inspire action, evoke deep emotions, connect people, and even make people feel understood and known. And this Holy Week, since Palm Sunday, we've been spiritually walking through the story of Jesus' passion, that story that we just shared here together tonight. And we've been pondering how we find ourselves within that story, how the story of our lives intersect with the great story, and how they shape us. Well, today we have reached an important chapter of that story, one that may be difficult for some of us. On Good Friday, we find ourselves staring at something that is both deeply unsettling and also deeply, deeply profound: the cross of Jesus Christ. Well, it's not always easy to look at. There's nothing about it that feels warm and fuzzy. When we see it, I think we're reminded just how different God is from us. We're reminded that God's ways are beyond our understanding. It feels like there should be no place in this world for this kind of suffering, even though we know it exists, and it's quite beyond us. And yet here we are. It's Good Friday. And we can't just skip over this part of the story. We might wish that we could jump straight to Easter, to the joy of the resurrection. But to truly understand and appreciate the glory of Easter, we need to sit with the weight of Good Friday. No quick fixes, no easy answers. Rather, we have to dig deep and find the courage to sit in the darkness for a moment, feeling the weight of Christ's suffering in order to seek to understand the incomprehensible, to seek to understand just how deep God's love really goes. It's amid this heaviness that we hear the prophet Isaiah offering us a powerful vision. In Isaiah, known as one of the servant songs, he speaks of a people who are in deep pain. People that are asking why they are suffering. The Israelites have been exiled to Babylon, losing everything that had once defined them. And after decades of hardship, they struggle to understand the meaning of this suffering. Isaiah responds by offering them a vision of hope, describing a servant who would bring salvation though this servant seemed weak and powerless. What he described was no victorious king or mighty warrior. Instead, he was despised, rejected, unnoticed. Despite this, Isaiah says that through this servant, God would bring glory and healing. And at first, this vision is difficult to accept. It's the opposite of what we would expect someone who is meant to save us. As the prophet writes, he had no form of majesty that we should look at him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. It is a truly surprising prophetic revelation, a mystery almost beyond comprehension to think that glory in the eyes of God does not come from where we would naturally expect. It doesn't come from power, fame. It doesn't come through worldly success. Instead, it comes through humility, self-offering, and yes, even most surprising at all, even through suffering. For what makes this saving figure so powerful for the people of Israel is that he meets the people where they are. He's not like some conqueror arriving to drive away their enemies, and not some great leader who's looking for personal glory. This is not some great fixer that fails to recognize and validate their suffering. Rather, this is a servant, someone that is willing to bear their pain with them, a servant that can understand what it is that they're going through and is unafraid to enter into their pain and find that space for healing. Surely he has borne our infirmities, Isaiah declares, and carried our diseases. This is a hero that truly loves them enough to enter into their suffering and take upon himself their struggle, feeling what they feel, crying with their tears. And this is the kind of glory that God chooses to reveal through the humble, the rejected. Many have connected this ancient prophecy with our Lord Jesus Christ, almost on an instinctual level. Because when we look at the cross, we see exactly what Isaiah is describing. The cross is the ultimate image of rejection and humiliation. It doesn't appear glorious, and yet it is. Through Jesus' suffering, we see the truest and deepest form of expression of love that the world has ever seen. Like the servant in Isaiah's song, Jesus doesn't respond with strength or resistance. He remains silent, not because he is weak, but because he is following a path that will bring healing. He meets the pain, he meets the violence, he meets the dominance, he meets the evils of humanity, and he does not retreat from it. He meets it with compassion and love and holiness. The beauty of Good Friday is that even in the darkness, we begin to see the fullness of God's love. The cross, as awful and painful as it is to look at, opens the door to salvation for humanity, bearing all of its iniquities and its pain. And here's the astonishing part. When we look at the cross, we can see ourselves in that story. Our own pains, our own challenges, our own struggles. That is part of the weight that Jesus carries as well. So it is with great confidence that I proclaim to you, whatever you are currently facing, whatever we're facing as a community, no matter what's going on, Jesus is with you. The cross is the image of just how willing Christ is to be with us in our pain and heal our suffering. Yes, we are all part of the story of suffering, but we are also a part of the story of redemption. And it's in this moment that we realize our place in the greater story of salvation. Just as God's people in Israel's time were invited to see hope in the midst of their troubles, we are invited to find our hope in the cross. It may not look like what we expected. It may sometimes feel like darkness, a moment maybe when God seems silent. But it is precisely in these moments that we realize the breadth, the depth, and the very volume of God's love. We realize that God's ways are not our ways. His glory doesn't come through obvious power or those warm and fuzzy feelings. It comes through love, humility, and sacrifice. So on this Good Friday, we don't rush to Easter, though we're excited about it coming. For now, we sit with the weight of the cross, just for a moment. We let it remind us of our place in God's story, of the suffering, yes, but also of the hope that comes through it, the light of love that shines around it and through it. We are part of a story that stretches back to the beginning of time and forward to all eternity. And even in the darkest moments, this is a story of redemption, of God making all things new, one step at a time. One hurt healed, one wound mended, one grief observed, one cross borne. God is making all things new, one step at a time.